Good morning, everyone. It's Sal, Stretford Post. How you all doing? And welcome to Breaking Dawn. I hope everyone's doing well. Everyone's having a fantastic day, night, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world. Thank you so much for joining me today, guys. I really appreciate everything, guys. Before I start, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new. And please don't forget to smash a like on the video. That'd be absolutely fantastic. Now, let's delve straight into it. Now, I never would have thought that a game of football could cause so much anger, despair, travesty, whatever you want to say. I never felt that Man United, I always felt that, you know, these guys who are in the Champions League, they're too busy in the Champions League. They haven't got time for us. You know, we're just the guys in the Europa League, isn't it? We're just those guys in the Europa League. But after this last couple of days, it made me realize something, that we're still the most hated club and biggest club in England. Because the meltdown after Manchester United defeated Athletic Bilbao 3-0 was absolutely incredible. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen a meltdown like it. I've never seen, every single rival fan, was angered. Why? This is wrong. You shouldn't be qualifying for the Champions League if you win the Europa League. This is not fair on Aston Villa. This is not fair on Newcastle. When this thing, right, has been going on for years, these rules, I've always believed, right, that football should be based on trophies. An incentive to win a trophy is what it should be, right? Finishing the fourth best, the fifth best, even the sixth best loser. It's just encouraging a loser mentality. Now, we're nowhere near where we need to be. Man United are nowhere near the club that we should be, we should aspire to be, but we will be. Right? But what is the overriding strength that we have is that we carry on winning trophies. Regardless of whether we are low in the league or we're not challenging for the league title or we're not challenging for the Champions League, we are still picking up trophies. Now, Man United have a chance to win their third trophy in 3 years by winning the Europa League. That, with any other team, is a golden period. That is a golden period. Now, the media have come out swinging in regards to Man United. They've come out with their usual nonsense about, how we were lucky, how this was not a red card, how the Garnacho situation was a handball, and et cetera, et cetera. I've never seen anything like it, to be honest with you. And yet again, it's Manchester United who are holding up European football for England. Again, it's us. And you know what? Just because a lot of those people wanted Manchester United to lose this game, many of them felt that we were going to lose this game. They're feeling a little bit hurt by it. I'm seeing Arsenal fans talking about European competition, and as I wrote on a tweet, which went viral yesterday, Arsenal fans talking about the credentials of any European trophy is a bit like Eric Ten Hag talking about shampoo. Arsenal fans talking about being in the Champions League after 100 years, I'd rather win the Champions League than be sitting here in 2025 talking about being in the Champions League. Do you know what I mean? I've seen 2. We've won 3, right? I'd rather witness my club win it than arguing about being in it. Because for me, it's about winning. It always has been. It always has been about winning. Football is about winning trophies. Football is not just about competing. Now, I know we live in a woke generation where, what people want to talk about, at least we're in it, at least we're in it, all this rubbish and stuff like that. I'm not interested in competing. I'm interested in winning. It makes no difference. No one cares. No one cares if you're in it or not. No one cares unless you win it. No one remembers the semi-final from years ago, do they? No one remembers who played the semi-final in 2017? Who played the semi-final in 2014? No one really cares, do they? Let's get through some of your comments, guys. Let's read through some of these. Big up Sanjay, as usual. Good to see you, legend. Hope you're doing well. Now people are saying that Europa League competition is dropped. Absolute morons with no objective. And the funny thing, Kenny, if people would like and care to do their research about the Europa League, and people would like and care to do their research about Athletic Bilbao, I'm seeing Arsenal fans calling Athletic Bilbao and Europa League teams hobbits and things like that. Right, let me tell you something about Athletic Bilbao. Athletic Bilbao have won more European trophies than Arsenal have won in this last 10 years. So if they want to scroll back to the trophies and European legacy, Athletic Bilbao have a bigger European legacy than Arsenal. People want to downgrade the likes of Real Sociedad and Lyon, who are established Champions League clubs. Man United won the Europa League when the Champions League teams used to drop into Europa League in 2017 at the end of the day. Now, this is because they want it to fit their narrative, that they don't want Man United to have a successful season. Many of these journalists don't like Ruben Amorim. So if Ruben Amorim does manage to win the Europa League, you know, that is a big embarrassment for them because they've already sacrificed themselves in regards to hating Ruben Amorim. You know, and now if he goes on wins the Europa League, that goes to show you what a fantastic manager he really is. Because with the adversity that he's had to deal with coming in mid-season with a unique, distinctive style of play that none of these players can play, right? And then also have on top of that having the off-field issues that happen, and then losing 3 of his players, his first team squad on loan, and only bringing in 1 player. You know, he deserves a bloody statue more than anything. Not only that, he's going to be responsible for bringing through great young players like Fredrickson already has come through the ranks. Of course, Ahmad has developed immensely under Ruben Amorim's stewardship. I just don't, and Harry Amas as well. You know, I just don't understand. I mean, the hatred used to be there. When I was younger in the 90s, the hatred used to be there. The Man United hatred, the Man United hate train. It used to be there. We know what the hate train used to be, you know, and we used to be, everyone used to dislike us. Now, I thought that sort of died down a little bit, but it became evident over this last week that the hatred is still there. We are still the biggest club in England, and these people can still cry. They can keep crying. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, Man United will never die. And we've told these people over and over and over again that we were not going to die. You will fade away. We will still be there. We will still be growing. You will fade away. We will still be growing. We're never going to stop growing. We're never going to stop winning. We're never going to stop winning trophies. And it's only a matter of time before this sleeping giant wakes up again and we're challenged for the league title again and we're challenged for the Champions League. We're going to go full round in circle while you guys are fighting over Man United, the credentials of a Europa League that you've never won. You've never won it. How can you talk about... now, I want to talk about Arsenal fans. I want to talk about... because they've been the most prominent. I have nothing against Arsenal as a football club. But Arsenal fans have been the most prominent for me in regards to the slandering of the Europa League. They've propped out of nowhere and they've started talking about the Europa League. Now, that's all well and good. They can have their opinion about the Europa League. But when it Arsenal... who made a song about winning the Cup Winners' Cup, 1-0 to the Arsenal. Do you remember? 1994, Parma and all that. Didn't they make a song about it? Now, the Europa League is a much bigger trophy than the Cup Winners' Cup. The Cup Winners' Cup was deemed the 3rd trophy in Europe. It was the Champions League, the UEFA Cup, and then the Cup Winners' Cup. Now, the Cup Winners' Cup doesn't exist. It's been void, of course, and they've merged somewhat, the UEFA Cup and the Cup Winners' Cup. So there is no Cup Winners' Cup anymore. But the Cup Winners' Cup was more like the Carabao Cup of Europe. And Arsenal actually made a song about the Carabao Cup. Well, the Cup Winners' Cup of Europe. You know, the Cup Winners' Cup. They made a song. They actually had a bus parade about it. You know, and then they're talking about the Europa League, the credentials of the Europa League. Now, look, that would be all well and good if Arsenal are decorated in accolades and they've won many European trophies and they've won the Champions League endless times. That would be fine. You know, that's fine. But you haven't won anything in Europe. You haven't won anything in Europe. You haven't achieved anything in Europe. You know what I mean? That's a bit like me going up to Arnold Schwarzenegger and talking about muscles. That's what it's like. I can give so many analogies, you know, at the end of the day. And, you know, this goes to show you how arrogant, delusional, misinformed that these people are. And the media are to blame as well. The media are there as well, talking their trash. Good morning, Darren. How you doing, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Good to see you, mate. How about the girl in the semi-finals then? Yeah. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, We all know that the Champions League is a massive trophy. We all know it's the biggest European trophy there is, even though Arsenal fans call it a glorified cup competition, which Arsenal fans have done. We all know it's the biggest trophy in Europe. We know that. We don't need anyone to tell that because we won it. You know what I mean? Right? And at the end, more than one time. You know, and at the end of the day, like you can talk about the Europa League all you like. The Europa League is the most valuable competition, one of the most valuable competitions in Europe, because it makes you qualify for the Champions League, which makes it extremely important. It's an extremely important trophy. It's a massive trophy. Now, you know, anyway, what if we don't want to respect these trophies, as in the FA Cup, as in the Europa League, as in the league, as in, you know, the Carabao Cup, then what's the point of us being here? Because at the end of the day, according to their generalization, they're saying that everything is a glorified cup competition. So we might as well just all pack up and leave, right? So we might as well. So basically what they want is the Premier League and Champions League. They're the only things that matter. But then again, when they're saying that the Premier League doesn't matter, they're concentrating on the Champions League. Now they're calling the Champions League a glorified cup competition. And this is where they contradict themselves and they make themselves look pretty stupid. Because at the end of the day, at me, who's witnessed my team winning the Champions League, I've witnessed my team winning the treble. I've witnessed my team winning the Champions League and Premier League in 2008. I witnessed my team winning the World Cup Championship. I witnessed my team winning the Cup Winners' Cup. I witnessed Man United winning the Europa League. You know? Now, Arsenal fans can turn around to Manchester United and they can say, well, the Europa League is not a big competition. It's full of hobbits and all these things that they were saying. If you've won it, if you've actually got credentials in European competition, if you've actually lifted these, if you've actually done that, if you've actually worked these muscles here, have you actually worked these muscles here with the Champions League? Have you ever done that? I don't think you have. So you have no right and no place to be talking about what is a good European competition, what isn't a good competition, if you're making songs about the Cup Winners' Cup. Child, morning. Do you think Tar's agent is using to make better deals? I don't know, mate. I'm going to get into that very soon. Let our rival scum cry more. Absolutely, Darren. But Darren, you know one thing I've noticed, though, and one thing that enlightened me, like, I actually felt that nobody cares about. People were telling me over the last few months, and you know that nobody cares about the Europa League, nobody cares about Man United. And then you know what? I think it's because they all hoped that Athletic Bilbao would turn up and kick our ass. Basically, that is what they were saying. They thought that they would turn up and just beat Man United, and it would be over. Man United won't be able to talk about a trophy anymore. That is what they'll talk about. Now, Man United still have one leg to go. Man United are not in the Europa League final yet. We still got a game to go. We still got to be professional. We got to win that game against Athletic Bilbao, draw that game, or just get through again in that game. And then we got to play a final. You can see the panic stations happening that, you know what, oh my goodness, Man United might actually win a Europa League. You know what I mean? Now, I cannot understand how Arsenal, a team that if Tottenham Hotspur qualify for the Europa League final, I've been to less finals than Tottenham. And then they want to gas it up. They want to gas it up and stuff like that. Good morning, Emmanuel. Been a while. What's going on, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Good to see you, brother. I hope you're good, my friend. Good to see you. Can use as a big up. One thing I know is that Amram is a very good coach and the players just let this man down. But I believe we are winning Europa League. Amram will shut the mouth on the fucking media. Absolutely, Emmanuel. Spot on, brother. And at the end of the day, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Exactly the thing I'm talking about is that, you know what? This is why the anger, the absolute command. I mean, how do you say it? The absolutely chaos that is going on in the media right now because Man United could possibly win the Europa League. Man United could possibly qualify for the Champions League. That is going to absolutely destroy them. It's going to bring them down. This is why they're so angry, because they've already put their cards on the table and they said that Ruben Amorim is not that guy. Ruben Amorim's not a good manager. Tactics, blah, 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 blah. Unfortunately, there are a few of our own fans, in quoted commas, guys, quotation marks, big quotation marks, who want us to lose because they've already sacrificed themselves in regards to Ruben Amorim. They've already put themselves on a platter to say that Ruben Amorim is out, and now they're made to be looking pretty stupid because Amorim is 2 games away, well, 1 really, from winning the Europa League and qualifying for the Champions League. in a season that has been an absolute mess, to salvage something from this season, that guy's going to need a bloody statue. And I want to hear those apologies louder than their criticism. Their apology should be louder than their criticism, because at the end of the day, what I've seen this last 24 hours, 48 hours is a bunch of crybabies, because Man United won the Champions League, won a Europa League tie in the semi-final, and because they got a red card, Athletic Bilbao, which was a red card. Now people could turn around. We could turn around and say, well, if the Athletic Bilbao player did not pull him back, then Rasmus Højlund has a tap in, it's 2-0. And in fact, I believe that if it was 2-0, as I said yesterday, that we probably would have won by more, because in the second half, it looked like Athletic Bilbao were content with the 3-0 scoreline. Now, if it was 2-0, Athletic Bilbao 11 against 11 would have come out and would have tried to attack Manchester United, and we would have picked them off. And it might have been 4 or 5-0. Who knows at the end of the day? But one thing's for certain, the rules are the rules, but people want to twist the rules because it's Manchester United. The rules are the rules, and they want to say that it wasn't a red card. Unbelievable. Darren, Arsenal couldn't win the egg cut. Arsenal can't win anything, mate. You know, and I'm one of those people who give credit where credit is due. I can turn around and talk about Liverpool. I dislike Liverpool, but I can turn around to Liverpool and say, well, at least Liverpool win. Their actions speak as well as their words. You know, when it comes to Arsenal, they just talk. When in reality, Arsenal are West Ham. They're no different. West Ham have won more European trophies than Arsenal in the last 100 years that exist right now. So why are they talking? Why are Arsenal talking when their level is West Ham? They need to get to West Ham's level of European respect. It does make me laugh. It does make me laugh. And you know what I mean? Man United in our worst period. This has been our worst period in probably our history. Yet we're still holding up English teams in Europe. Kenny, why are Liverpool fans still doing hate along? Them should enjoy their league titles. Because we are the biggest club in the world. Because regardless of what Liverpool win, regardless of whether they win the Champions League, whether they win the Premier League, they will never be as big as Manchester United. Manchester United are English football. Because if you remove the Manchester United out of the Premier League would crumble. Crumble. They have nothing to talk about. They'll have nothing to talk about. They have nothing to do. They hate us more than we hate them. We're concentrating on our own journey right now. Listen, look, I've witnessed 20 years of success. That success of 20 years was never going to be forever. We know that. But it is the longest dominating period in English football history. Right? 20 bloody years of dominance. Right? 13 Premier League titles. Right? No one comes close to that. A treble. A Champions League and League double, 2 doubles, FA Cup and Premier League, and at the end of the day, look, these people, they don't understand that, we've seen it for the last 20 years. When I'm sitting there and I'm seeing that Arsenal fans talking after 100 years about being in the Champions League, but, I don't care about being in the Champions League, if we're not winning the Champions League. At the end of the day, we won it, and we can turn around to Arsenal. And Arsenal fan said to me yesterday, well, if you win the other way round, you'll be criticizing Arsenal about being in the Europa League. I said, yeah, that may be true, but at least I can throw at you Champions League titles, Europa League titles, Club World Championship titles. I can throw these at you and say, well, we won it, though. We've won these trophies. Arsenal can't turn around to us and say that, but we won anything, because you've won nothing. It's madness at the end of the day. But the overriding, good morning. Good morning, Irfan. How you doing? Good morning, Reds. Big up yourself. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. There is this Thai dude, that believe Arsenal is a bigger than Real Madrid. That makes me happy that Liverpool won the league and not Arsenal. Irfan, you know what I would say about Thai? I think Thai is mentally deranged. Delusions of grandeur, isn't it called? I think he needs mental health assessment. I think that Thai needs serious, and I'm saying this as a brother, right? I think Thai needs medical treatment. I really do think that he has a mental delusional condition that prevents him from seeing rational sense and seeing reality. That guy is the sort of person, that guy lives in a desert, right? That guy's like living in a desert, right? And he's seeing mirages in the distance because he's so hot and he's seeing mirages. He actually thinks that Arsenal, this invincible thing that happened to Arsenal in 2004, which was a good achievement. I'm not going to downgrade their achievement, but they did draw 15, 16 games that season. And then, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, that doesn't come across as a invincible to me, considering that we beat them in the FA Cup and they lost to Chelsea in the Champions League. So that's not really invincible, is it, at the end of the day? And I would always argue that if Alex Ferguson concentrated on egotistical little records, you know, he would have went the league unbeaten as well. But the fact that Manchester United were always fighting on more than one front, we were fighting on the league, the Champions League, the FA Cup every single season. We weren't too bothered about becoming unbeaten in the league. And if Alex Ferguson wanted to do that, he could have done that. He's a crazy lad. Good morning. Good morning, Abada. How you doing, my friend? I hope you're doing well. I'm a forever main Man United fan. Big up, Abada. Big up yourself. I hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Arsenal fans said the Europa League is easy. We do not care when they did not win any European competition. And Arsenal fans want to talk about the Europa League. Man, my goodness me. Didn't they not lose 4-0 to Chelsea in the Europa League final and embarrass themselves in front of the whole world? Did they not do that? Now, I want people to understand this. I want people to look at this very closely this season. I want you to look at the viewer figures for Manchester United against Tottenham in the Europa League final, given it is Tottenham against Man United, right? It's looking likely it's going to be that. I want you to look at the viewing figures of Manchester United against Tottenham, and then I want you to look at the viewing figures of the Champions League final. You're going to be incredibly surprised. Incredibly surprised, right? Because we are huge. We are huge. You're going to see more Europa League final viewers than Champions League final viewers. Shouldn't mind them. They are just jealous of success in the future. They know that the glory days are coming back to the greatest club in the world. Big up Abada. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Absolutely. Bruno's got his fan show when he asked it. Yeah, I posted it yesterday, fan. Yeah, I understand Spanish and that. So good morning. Saltar is a good experienced player. We need this kind of player. Very good player, absolutely. Now, Manchester United look likely to be approaching TAR's representatives in regards to a free transfer move in June. TAR, of course, contract expires in 2025, so he is available for a free transfer. It is said that the likes of Bayern Munich and Real Madrid have inquired about the services of TAR, but Manchester United have made their move in regards to obtaining TAR's services next season. TAR is a very experienced player, currently playing for Bayer Leverkusen, who of course won the Bundesliga. TAR was gained the interest of Manchester United in the summer, as reported here on Stretford Post, when they were talking about signing him last summer. But Manchester United did say back then that we would like to sign TAR on a free transfer at the end of the season. And basically, here we are. Here we are. And TAR is a very, very one to look out for. One to look out for, definitely. Amram is a good coach. We couldn't dispute that Ineos need to back him very well. Absolutely, brother. I agree with that. This summer is a big test, of course. Big this summer. I believe Molde could have easily beaten Spurs. Let me tell you something, fam. Real Sociedad, Lyon, Athletic Bilbao. Those three teams right there would beat Spurs. Those three teams. What's the double jeopardy rule? I don't know what that is. So at the end of the day, I'm bringing this in because it is an enlightening kind of discussion because, you know, Manchester United are at our worst period in history. This is the worst Manchester United team in history, you know, and we are still the talking point of the world. You know, we got journalists in Spain. We've got journalists in England. We got rival fans in England. We even got our own fans in England, to be honest with you, talking about us and criticizing and not. You know what? As I said this many, many weeks ago, months ago even. in 1998-99 is the only one and only first one and only compliment I got from Arsenal fans, which was a very brief, "You're a good team, you know." That was it. I've never had a compliment from Arsenal fans apart from that in my whole life. "You're a good team, you know." No shit, Sherlock. We won the treble. You know what I mean? At the end of the day. And to be honest with you, this is exactly what they are. Now, they're panicking because they know that what happened in 2017 when Man United won the Europa League is coming flashing back to them because they've criticised us all week. I mean, imagine Man United's worst ever team win the second European trophy, the second best European trophy in Europe. There's only a couple, really. I don't count the Conference League, but the second trophy in Europe, the Europa League. And thus beating Arsenal again in Europe, outshining Arsenal again in Europe, because it's not about one-off results. It's not about beating certain teams. We've beaten the likes of AC Milan in their prime. We've beaten the likes of Roma 7-1. We've beaten Real Madrid. We've beaten these teams. But at the end of the day, right, it matters about this. It doesn't matter about anything else. It matters about this. That's all that should matter at the end of the day. UK Dan, if Bodo get an early goal on top their plastic pitch, game on. If they get an early goal, there is no Europe, there's no away goals these days, isn't it? So, you know, if they get an early goal, I could actually see Darren Tottenham crumbling. Tottenham are not one of those teams that are used to these kind of situations. You know, they do feel like they've got one foot in the final. I know that they should have that feeling, but I don't think that tie is over. I think that goal at the end was incredibly crucial. It could be. I don't think it should have been 3-1. I think it should have been 2-1. I think one of the goals from Tottenham Hotspur shouldn't have happened. It should have been 2-1. And if it was 2-1, it'd be even more precarious for Tottenham Hotspur. But 3-1's a good lead. Although, if Bodo Glimt getting an early goal, can you imagine an early goal on a plastic pitch? It's going to put enormous pressure on Tottenham Hotspur. Enormous pressure on Tottenham. This is Bodo Glimt's biggest game in their history, and you bet your bottom dollar that they're gonna fight for that game. Absolutely. Jay Lani, what's going on, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Has Harry Maguire proven the whole world wrong? Yes, his price tag's ridiculous, but his fighting spirit has shown through. I mean, what I would say is that Harry Maguire is a good squad player. There is no substitute for Premier League experience. There's no substitute for experience in general. And, you know, unfortunately for Harry Maguire, as with a lot of the players, with Bruno, with other players as well, they came at a time in Manchester United's history where we were a toxic mess, and we were a mess from top to bottom, including the ownership, including the players, off-field issues. Everything was toxic. Everything is madness. Now, when we signed Harry Maguire all those years ago, I think we signed him in 2019. I mean, I did say back then is that, you know what, he's one of the best young English defenders in the world, best defenders in the world, which he was, right? The fact is that Harry Maguire, this last couple of games, in particular in the Europa League, has shown his experience. Other players moaning about being played out of position, including Anthony was moaning about being played as a right wing back. You know, other players doing that while Harry Maguire is playing up front, who's a defender. Harry Maguire found himself on the wing against Athletic Bilbao and didn't just fluke it, right? He took on his man, he dribbled past his man, and he crossed the ball to perfection. And fair play to Ugarte for the flick on. Brilliant flick on from Ugarte, which led to Casemiro burying it into the goal. I think the criticism in regards to some of these players has been exaggerated. I think obviously Maguire, we're not sitting there talking about Maguire being Paolo Maldini, because we know he's not. But one thing Maguire does is that he puts in the shift, you know, more times than not. Is he the defender to take Man United forward? No. But, you know, I would say that he's earned his spot. And whenever he was called upon, he has been there. When he lost that captaincy, he has been there. He didn't moan to Twitter. He didn't moan to social media. He didn't cry to various outlets around the world. He just got on with his job. That is one thing that I can look at Maguire and I can say, I admire you, mate. You got on with it. You kept your head down and you played your football, mate. And lo and behold, He's the reason we are in the Europa League semi-final. Because bet your bottom dollar, guys, if we went to penalties against Lyon, I bet Lyon would win that game because their goalkeeper is going to save more penalties than Onana. So fair play to Harry Maguire. Fair play. And that's what all we want. I don't want anyone to foul. I don't want Onana to foul. I don't want anyone to foul at Man United. I want every single one of those players to win. I want them to achieve things at our club. I want them to win things at our club. I want them to lift trophies at our club. I don't care about individuals. I just care about Manchester United. But I'm going to praise players when they do well. And thank you, Harry Maguire, for getting us in the Europa League, into this Europa League position where we're one big foot into the final. There you go. I have a funny feeling about Bodo Glimt in the final. You never know, Ephraim. Football's a funny old game. And this is why I've been talking about as well, Man United have got one more leg to play. More times than not, 99.9% of the time, Man United are going to go through against Athletic Bilbao. But what Man United need to do, they need to take that game very, very seriously. And when the game starts against Athletic Bilbao, we need to keep very solid and not concede anything early. And then after about 20 minutes, you know what? Then we can start doing the counter-attacks and just pick Athletic Bilbao off. And this is what can happen with Bodo Glimt as well, with Tottenham. If Bodo Glimt get a goal early, right? I think Bodo Glimt can do it. I actually think Bodo Glimt can do it. I actually think Bodo Glimt will go there, win that game. Morning, Sal. Good morning, Afro. How you doing, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Manchester United is the most popular, famous, glorious, and glamorous clubs in the world. Our rivals are bitter because we are attractive and romantic, and we're better than them. We will always be better than them, whether they're tiny egotistical wins here and there. You know what I mean? They're going to throw that at us and stuff like that. But we've seen it. We've achieved their dreams. And that's why they hate us, because we've achieved their dreams. We've seen their dreams up close. We've done it. Do you know what I mean? We've been there. We've done it. We won the T-shirt. We bought the mug. We bought the trainers. We bought the cap. We've done it. And this is why they hate us so much, because we will never be defeated. We will never die as a football club. We will never disappear at the end of the day. Double jump is when a player fouls to prevent him from scoring when it's the first time I've heard of that. Clear chance to score. It was that's a business term. What I would say, that has nothing to do with football, double jeopardy, but in your business terms and stuff like that. But what I would say is that was an accidental handball from Garnacho, and it was a penalty on Garnacho as well. So we need to look at that, of course. I think more Maguire price tag that triggered people than the experience came along, but that's not his fault, fan, you know. And at the end of the day, we all know that Harry Maguire was not worth 80 million, however much he was worth, and he was worth 30 million, if that, 30, 40 million, if that. We all know his price tag, but we all know how incompetently run we have been over the years with obviously Murta and Woodward and stuff like that, including Anthony, who's worth nowhere near 80 million, and we paid 90 million for him, didn't we? He's a 40 million pound player when he come from Ajax, and this is exactly what it is. We've been run badly to the ground. Ephraim, we do not have the risk of any players at this time to play for the Premier League. At this moment in time, Ephraim, and I'm going to be very real with you, and this is unfortunate because I don't usually say this. Play the kids against Brentford, and it doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. At the end of the day, I would play the kids. I would get Delict, Almad, get some game time to get him some fitness back up, and I'll play the rest. I'll play kids. I would see no point in playing I probably will play Eriksen. I probably will play Lindelof and players like that. But I would much rather Ruben Amorim go into those games, that game against Brentford tomorrow, and play kids. I would much rather that, if I'm being honest with you. Definitely. So let's break the door with Amos Colondra. Who do you think should start? What I would say, Afro Soup, is that I think the criticism on Dorgu has been absolutely disgraceful. I think that Dorgu is a 20-year-old player who's been thrown into the deep end again when Luke Shaw and Amas were not available, and Malacia. I think that Harry Amass is going to be a very good player. I've been talking about Harry Amass for a very long time, guys. Harry Amass is going to be a very long player, a very, very good player. Now, it depends what happens next season in regards to Diego Leon, who's coming to the football club in the summer, and also Harry Amass and Dorgu. Now, it's all up for grabs. What I would say is that Dorgu can play on the right wing back as well. So we got that cover there. So his versatility is better than Amass. So I think that Dorgu is more developed than Amass, but Amass is going to be a very, very good player. And I would like to see Amass play against Brentford tomorrow. I'd like to see a number of young players playing tomorrow. I would like to see Fredrickson in there. I would like to see Mantata, Kamarson playing as well. I would like to see those players given an opportunity tomorrow against Brentford and see what they can do. It's happening soon, Chow. I believe it will happen soon. Obviously, the negotiation is at an advanced stage in regards to Cunha. So don't be surprised if you get a here we go. I think we might get a here we go maybe tomorrow or Monday. But next week could be a here we go. But, Man United, the way Man United do things, when we're close to a here we go, we seem to prolong it and even longer, don't we? Little question. Will we win the Premier League again? Tomorrow, I'll be honest, Beef Bully, I don't want to lose. I never want to lose. So I actually believe Man United can get a draw tomorrow. If Man United get a draw tomorrow, I'm happy with that, Beef Bully. The Premier League has unfortunately become a distraction to Manchester United this season. We need that Europa League more than anything, and we cannot risk injuries. The only thing I would do in regards to tomorrow is that I would get De Ligt and I'll get Ahmad playing to get him some game time, to get him some match fitness. I would do that. But I would also bring in Camerson and I would also bring in these players as Mantato as well. I would also bring in these players and Fredrickson and Chido Obi-Martin and see what these players can do and start them. That's what I would do, because you never know what kind of gem you're going to unearth, do you, at the end of the day? The terms collide 2 seasons. The term was coined 2 seasons. It was deemed unfair. However, I never heard of that term myself. If a player is on a yellow, they're claimed red is fair. I've never heard of that. It's some made up shit. I've never heard it in English football ever. But yeah, I know what you mean. Our fans are not patient for young players. It will be too risky. And I speak English. I know what double jeopardy means. It's just never been used in footballing terms. You know what I mean? I'm English at the end of the day. Ahmad looks better. Did you notice the confidence? Ahmad had one run. Yes, I don't know about confidence, but he needs more games. Garnacho's been doing that for ages, but he never gets the praise, does he? At the end of the day, he's been doing that for a long time. Ahmad got the ball, run with the ball, and lost the ball. That's what happened. Now we need to play Ahmad tomorrow. We need to make sure Ahmad gets some match fitness tomorrow. Tamara Binder, Chido, Mantata, Ericsson, Amash Shaw all start. I would love that, Beef Bully. That would be great. I think that's what we should do, because you never know what kind of gem we're going to unearth. What kind of gem we're going to unearth at the end of the day. You never know at the end of the day. And Mantata, Camerson, Fredrickson, obviously are players that I want to see more of. I want to see more Chido as well. I want to see him playing up front. I think Ahmad should start tomorrow, because Ahmad needs to get match fitness. I think he needs to start. I mean, people don't understand the valuation of match fitness. They don't understand the levels of fitness. I mean, I've run 3 marathons in my life, and I know about what fitness is, and levels of fitness. There's levels to this game. And if you just chuck a player in the Europa League semi-final against Bilbao next week, it's going to be jeopardy for Ahmad. Double jeopardy. So for Ahmad. And I would say that play him tomorrow, even if it's for half a game, play him for the first half, bring him off. And then, you know what, then you can say that he's got a little bit of match fitness. Do you know what I mean? He's got a little bit of match fitness, and you can say that it's going to hold him well in good stead for the game on Thursday. Kenny, I'd rather Fredrickson, Chido, Amass against Brentford. Me too. Tottenham players are injured. How many Tottenham players are... I mean, we need some Tottenham players to be on a yellow card for the final if they do get there, of course, and Bodo Glimt. Man United have a danger of getting Euro suspended, so they've got to be careful with Lenny Euro. He's still injured, mate. As far as I'm aware, Collier is still injured, which is unfortunate, because Collier was breaking into the team. He adds a lot of energy into that midfield. It's a shame. It's a shame that he's injured, but I don't know what's going on with Man United and our fitness department. I really don't. With all these injuries that keep occurring in our football club, it's no coincidence what's been going on, and Collier, it seems to be always the players that, we need that keep getting injured and stuff like that, Glad that Mainu is back. Mainu, let's not underestimate Mainu. Mainu is very important to Manchester United. He keeps the ball ticking along. He keeps the ball playing around. The problem with Kobe Mainu that he's been playing too much football over the last year. He played in the obviously the European Championships for England. He played 6 months prior to that for Man United every single game. And then he's been playing at the start of this season. So as a young player, he was playing too much football. Now, I believe that we can start playing him here and there and start looking after him properly and contribute to these players being nurtured properly as well at the end of the day. Burville will miss the rest of the season. Son is too. Is Son missing the rest of the season, Beef Bully? Is he missing the rest of the season? I know Burville is. I heard that yesterday. Is Son missing the rest of the season? If that's the case, it's a big plus for Man United. It's a big plus for Man United, definitely. That'd be amazing. That'd be huge for Man United because he's always given Man United problems over the years. He's always given Man United problems over the years. He has. And to be honest with you, that is good news. Fingers crossed Man United don't have any problems. We hope so. This is why that I would not risk any of the main players against Brentford. The only thing I would do is play, obviously, De Ligt and Ahmad for one half to try and get their match fitness to be ready for the game against Athletic Bilbao. Of course, we've got to be careful of Yoro. Yoro on a yellow card against Bilbao would contribute to a suspension in the final. So we got to make sure that we look after these players properly. If De Ligt is back, we won't need to risk Yoro. Maybe we can put Yoro on the bench just so he doesn't get another yellow card. Because, Lenny Yoro's game is about physicality as well. And he's always prone to get a yellow card. So I don't want him to get a yellow card because I think Lenny Yoro has shown that he is one of the best up-and-coming defenders in world football. He's a generational. He's unbelievable. I mean, the way he has handled himself, the pressure of playing for Manchester United has been absolutely phenomenal. I cannot stress how impressed I've been with Lenny Yoro. Now, before he signed for Man United, I was like, oh, well, he's going to be another young player. He's going to take time to develop. He's walked into this team, right? And he reminds me of the old days because we used to get players like this a lot. We used to get players who used to come into the team and just control things and be relaxed on the ball. Lenny Yoro reminds me of an old school type of player who just walked into that team and just completely looked like he's been there for 10 years. He looks like a seasoned international, a seasoned Manchester United player who's been there for years. And I'm so impressed with him. And I don't want him to miss the final because if he deserves to play in the final. Euro plays on 25-year-old boys. He's absolute class, Darren. And, he reminds me of the old school defender. He reminds me of Rio Ferdinand a little bit. I don't know what you mean, what you make of that. But Nemanja Vidic, Jaap Stam, Rio Ferdinand. Even when I remember when Wes Brown walked into the team in 1998, he reminds me of a Wes Brown as well. When Wes Brown walked into the team, people won't know this, but when Wes Brown walked into the team, I think one of his first games was against Leeds United, the last game of the season in 1998. He looked like he's been in that team for years, and that, the funny thing is someone said it yesterday or the day before yesterday. The sign of a great defender is a defender you don't notice, because he's doing his job. Everything that comes his way, he's doing his job. Everything, and I'm so impressed with him. Evan, we did not win against Spurs for 3 games. How this happened? Contextual, Ephraim, contextual. What I would say is that when we played Tottenham in the League Cup at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, we had a foul on Onana. There were a couple of decisions against Manchester United. We didn't have Ahmad. We didn't have a various players. We had injuries as well. Before that, obviously, we played against Tottenham. We lost 3-0 at Old Trafford. Bruno got sent off, Ephraim, if we all remember that, don't we? Of course. So, but relatively speaking, other than that, it's been really neck and neck in regards to the way that it's been played. But during that time when we lost at Old Trafford 3-0, when Bruno got sent off, it was 1-0 to Tottenham at that time. And I believe that Man United would have went on to draw that game or win that game. But one thing I would say is that time when we lost at Old Trafford, we were in a bad place with Erik ten Hag and stuff like that. We were in not a good place. Now we're in a completely different hemisphere, so to speak. Tottenham are not playing well. Tottenham are serial losing at the moment. If we play Tottenham in the final, they might be missing Son. They're going to be missing Bergville. They're going to be missing a few of their players. You know, some of their players might be suspended. Who knows? You know, but one thing's for certain is that they are Tottenham. And you know what? I feel like in a one-off game in the final, when you look at Tottenham and you look at a one-off game in the final, Tottenham are going to look at Man United. They're going to see Casemiro. They're going to see Bruno. They're going to see these players, right, who played in finals. But most importantly, who won in finals. They're going to look at that team of Manchester United. I think a lot of those players right there would have played in an FA Cup final against Man City and won against Man City. You would look at Casemiro and say he's won 5 European Cups. You would look at Bruno and say he's won he's won FA Cups, League Cups for Man United. Who have Tottenham got in their team right now in a one-off final in a neutral venue that they can look at themselves and say, we got winners in our team? No one in their team can say that. No one. You know? So Man United should treat Tottenham like Everton. That is what Man United should do. Ephraim Samuel, I know 2002, it was so far. Big up, big up, big up. Ephraim blamed the Glazers, absolutely. Absolutely. Is Son out for the season? I didn't know that myself, I'll be honest with you. Who is your favourite defender, Vidic or Ferdinand? Vidic, Ephraim. But Jaap Stam is my favourite. I like Steve Bruce as defender. I was a big fan of Paul Parker when he was playing. He was a good, at the end of the day. But my favourite defender of all time for Manchester United is Jaap Stam. He was my favourite defender of all time for Man United because I felt like Jaap Stam, he played a couple of seasons. He was unfairly treated, in my opinion, in regards to shipping him out and stuff like that. But I like Jaap Stam. But Nemanja Vidic, Jaap Stam. And one thing I would say, and let me bring this into the show, guys. Let me bring this into the show. Ronnie Johnson was Manchester United's most underrated defender in history. Ronnie Johnson. Those who know. Ronnie Johnson can move from right back, left back, centre back, and move into midfield. And you know what? You wouldn't, as I've been speaking about earlier, you wouldn't even notice that he's playing out of position. That is what Ronnie Johnson was. Ronnie Johnson could score a goal too. You know, at the end of the day. And I feel like Ronnie Johnson was so underrated. And I also want to give a shout out to Henning Berg and players like that who don't get a shout. They never get a shout. But you know what? I'm going to shout them out today. Because at the end of the day, you know what? People forget about these Henning Bergs and David Mays and Ronnie Johnsons. And, you know, they forget about these players. Good morning, Trebellum. How you doing, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Hope you're good. Sal, you hear that Man United have beaten Spurs in Europa before UEFA Cup 2-0 down, 4-1 up. Sal, you hear that Man United have beaten Spurs in Europa before UEFA Cup? Yeah, a long time ago, probably. Yeah, we did. When the UEFA Cup was the UEFA Cup, but, you know, it was a long time ago. It's before my time, definitely. Man United only played in the UEFA Cup in the 90s, in 1996, where we lost to Rotar Volgograd. That was the UEFA Cup, and we got knocked out of that competition. Schmeichel scored a goal from the goalkeeper. We haven't really played well in Europe, in the UEFA Cup. Then it turned to the Europa League as well. But yeah, we have a great record against English teams in the Europa League, in the Champions League. We've beaten Chelsea twice. We've beaten obviously Arsenal in the Champions League. You know, we have nothing to worry about against Tottenham, and we shouldn't do. Seeing that stat, and us only 5 times in 5 months being man, there you go. Yeah. So, but at the end of the day, Man United have good record against English clubs, so I don't think we should worry about Spurs. I did bring in this analogy like yesterday about Man United. If Man United win the Champions League right now, guys, if Man United win the Champions League, hypothetically speaking, right, and Man United had an opportunity to play Tottenham in the final, how would your reaction be? How would your reaction be if Man United had an opportunity to play Tottenham in the Champions League final? You'll be delighted, right? You'll be over the moon, right? Because at the end of the day, they're not elite. We're not playing Liverpool here. You know, we're not going to be playing Arsenal even here. We're not going to be playing Barcelona or Real Madrid. You know, not even Atletico Madrid. We're going to be playing Tottenham, guys. Solanke Madison also injured, or how long? How long, Triple M? How long? Did you see when Duncan Edwards play? How good is he? Ephraim. I'm not old enough to remember when Duncan Edwards played because he died in 1958. God rest his soul, okay? But Duncan Edwards was a legend at Manchester United. Duncan Edwards was the best player in the world. And if Duncan Edwards carried on playing and tragedy didn't strike, and by the way, tragedy because we were forced to come back from European competition because no one else believed in European competition in England apart from Man United. Right, now, if Duncan Edwards played on and the tragedy didn't happen, England would have 5 World Cups. He was that good. England won the 1966 World Cup. England then played in the 1970 World Cup and were 2-0 up against Germany, ended up losing the game 4-2. They needed a Duncan Edwards. They would have went through that game and won the World Cup in 1972. If Duncan Edwards was around, that would have been the best international, one of the best international sides in history. And I'm pretty certain about that. Manchester United would have thrived. Man United were also already one of the best teams in the world. With Duncan Edwards, Man United already won the European Cup in 1968. Despite having the tragedy in 1958, Man United won the Champions League European Cup back then in 1968. Now, imagine that Duncan Edwards and all those great players, those legends who played for Manchester United, who sadly passed away, were still playing. Manchester United right now would have 7, 8 European Cups. I'm telling you right now. But they won't talk about that. They ignore that. Media, rival fans, they ignore that, don't they? What happened to Man United? How Man United were forced to come back on a slippery runway at an airport. And at the end of the day, they have nothing to do. But what there should be in every single season, there should be a thank you, Man United, for your contribution to English teams in Europe. Thank you for that. Thank you very much for that. Because we sacrificed ourselves when you didn't believe in Europe. And Liverpool as well, you didn't believe in European competition. Now, your bread and butter, your go-to argument is the Champions League. Thank you, Manchester United, for that. Thank you for sacrificing yourself in 1958 so that teams like you can ungratefully thrive and pretend it is all your work. Thank you, Man United, for that. You know, and I will always bring in this situation, and I'll always debate this with any fan, any rival fan out there, because this is straight facts. And then people want to talk about and throw in the fact that it's the past. Oh, it's the past, Sal. Let it go, Sal. It's the past. The past is what determines your future. It is a current fact that Man United have 3 Champions Leagues. Why do Man United have 3 Champions League currently? Because of our past. This is what happens, you know, and people want to ignore the great history of Man United, even before the 1950s, and you go to the 1930s, the 1920s, the 1910s, the days of Newton Heath and stuff like that. Even those days, you know, Man United were pioneers in the way to play football. Man United were pioneers. Man United were the team. What is Man United's percent? What is Manchester United? I don't know what the percentage is. This is not a maths class, fan. Man United have lost many European finals. Man United have lost, obviously, to Villarreal. Man United have lost to Barcelona twice. And that's it. Man United have lost, that's it. 3 finals. Man United have been to the 1968 final. Man United have been to various finals. Cup Winners' Cup final. Man United have been to Champions League finals. Champions League final 1999, 68, 2009. 2010. I mean, and get us banned from Europe, Sal. There you go. That's the thanks we get, Darren, isn't it? That's the thanks we get for getting banned from Europe. And you know, during that period, what people don't understand, right? No, we weren't in the Champions League European Cup back then, but other teams were. And Nottingham Forest were a powerhouse back then. Aston Villa were a powerhouse back then. And they might have won European Cups as well. But what that did for English football, when we got banned for 8 years for English football, thank you to Liverpool, right? Is that disrupted the monopoly of English football, the dominance of England back then in England in domestic football, affected English teams going all the way through, and it ended up having taken time. And who brought English teams back? Who brought English teams back from the doldrums? Manchester United. 1990 Cup Winners' Cup final, Barcelona. Manchester United brought English football back. Who was the English team, the next English team to win the Champions League after the Liverpool banned us? Manchester United. My favorite defender wore the number 6 jersey and played with Bruce. Gary Pallister, mate. Kenny, regardless of injuries, Spurs don't have what it takes to win cup finals. We'll have to wait and see. Look, at the end of the day, well, what I'm saying is I can't say what Tottenham are. I can't say what Tottenham are. But what I can say is we need to look after ourselves, and we cannot fear Tottenham at the end of the day. We're pretty good. We've won more than... We have 9th time and we have won 4 victories in Europe. Absolutely. Man United clear, but it doesn't really matter, does it? At the end of the day. Favourites to win the Europa League, 3-0 against Bilbao. Man United favourite, yep, we are favourites. I'm pretty sure that's... Yes, it does count, Beef Bully. We got a poor record, Beef Bully, in the Super Cup. We've lost against Lazio. We lost against Zenit St. Petersburg. We've lost against some big teams in the Super League. And we won the Super League, I think, in 1990... one, I think, or something like that. But Man United have a poor record in the Super League, Beef Bully. But it is deemed a friendly. But what I would say is that it's still an important European trophy for me. Monique 58 is sad, but we surely have 3 more in that 10 years. No lies. Go Man United. Man United struggled. After the European Cup final in 1968, Man United struggled. Man United got relegated in 1974, of course, and we ended up, after getting promoted with Lou Macari and all those players who played for Man United at the time, we became a cup team. And other teams thrived off Manchester United's legacy in Europe, including Nottingham Forest and Liverpool, late 70s, early 80s. And to be honest with you, Man United's downfall was because of a number of situations, of course, guys. You know what I mean? And, it was a sad time, but it's what made us. It's what shaped us. If we don't get Barcelona at the time, I think we can win more than 3. Barcelona, in my opinion, Fran, we got it wrong tactically. What I would say is that the game against Barcelona in Rome was cheating. I think that they dived all over the place. In Wembley, we missed Fletcher big time, and we ended up having to play Ryan Giggs in the centre midfield, where Ryan Giggs is not a centre midfielder, especially if you're playing against the likes of Xavi, Iniesta, and Busquets. It was a very difficult one. Sal, this game is Amram's best achievement so far. It would be if he wins it. You're welcome, Irfan. You're welcome, everyone. You're welcome. One thing I'll do, I'm not old enough to remember Duncan Edwards, unfortunately, playing. I know fans that have. I know fans that have been going to Man United for 60, 70 years. they've witnessed Duncan Edwards, and I've had great conversations with people about Duncan Edwards, Blanche Flower, all these great players that played for Manchester United at the time. You know, Fletcher was a big miss of Rome 2009, absolutely, and Fletcher was a big miss at Wembley as well. Yeah. Alex Ferguson openly admits that he made a mistake at Wembley when we played Barcelona. He said he would have put Jason Park on Messi. Tactically, we got it wrong at Wembley, in my opinion. Morning, Charlotte. What's going on, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing. There's no doubt that Man United should have won more European trophies in our most dominant period. Unfortunately, during the early 90s, Man United couldn't play the players that they wanted to because they had a foreign quota, a foreign rule. So Man United, the great team of 1993, 94, 95, had to be split up because we had to decide which player we're going to play because they had that stupid European foreign rule there, you know, and it affected Man United because I felt that team would have won the European Cup. That team would have won the Champions League, you know. Unfortunately, you know, but what that period did do in regards to the European scene is that it brought through the likes of David Beckham, Nicky Butt, Paul Scholes. It brought through these players. They had the chance to play in European competition, and when they played in European competition, we played the likes of Barcelona. I remember us going to Barcelona and getting slapped up 4-0, right? But then that gave an opportunity for the likes of Paul Scholes and Nicky Butt to look at the likes of Hristo Stoichkov and Romario and players like that. And they learned from that. These players there, Paul Scholes, Gary Neville, Nicky Butt, you know, David Beckham, they learned from the likes of Stoichkov, from the likes of Romario, from the likes of Ronald Koeman, you know, Luis Enrique. They learned from that. They learned their trade from that, from how good they were, Barcelona. And that Barcelona team was not even the best in Europe. And that is how we became such a great European powerhouse, because these players had to learn. They had to learn, didn't they? Good on, Emma. It looks like many things are aligning in our team's favour. I mean, win at the moment. Big up, Pearl. Absolutely. Let's hope so. Randy, morning, Sal. Big up everyone else in the chat. Good morning, Randy. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Thank you, everyone who's joined me today. Guys, I'll try and be back later on. Keep your notifications on. And please don't forget to subscribe if you're new. And also, please don't forget to smash a like on the video, guys. Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. I'm Sal Warner. This is Breaking Dawn. And you know what? You can relax today. We've got a game tomorrow. It's not that serious. We're waiting for Thursday, guys. Bring on Thursday. Have a great day, guys. And enjoy your weekend, whatever you do. I'm Sal Warner. This is Breaking Dawn. Don't forget to smash a like, please. And your notifications on. Cheers. Bye.